Texas Governor Greg Abbott just signed 7 different gun rights bills into law in the state of Texas. He signed them at the Alamo. He signed them at the seat of liberty in Texas, according to him, the Alamo, which is, of course, got a double symbolism here. And let's talk about that real quick. Texas is under attack. Texas and their traditions and their state identity and their brazen, cavalier, individualistic attitude is under attack. It's under infiltration by people who want the freedoms and the economic prosperity that Texas has, but they're fleeing their liberal states where they've made a bunch of bad decisions and stifled their own economic opportunities. So now they're going to go try and do the same thing in Texas, but they want to come in there and change the composition of the state. They want to change how people live. And they want to change the laws that actually allow this sort of freedom. So Texas is under attack in that way. The Alamo is also under attack. The Alamo as a story is under attack. And we have to be careful not to offend people who are long dead, who attacked the Alamo or whatever. We got to get the right story out there. This is all going on right now. Texas is under pressure because people see Texas, they see prosperity, and they see Texans' attitudes, and it makes them uncomfortable. They don't like it. They don't like that. But I love it. So Greg Abbott has just signed 7 bills into law, including what's called constitutional carry. And this is the idea that you can carry a gun in public without a license. Now, Greg Abbott, in my opinion, got a little weak-kneed on his COVID responses. He was holding out for a while, and then he caved and allowed a bunch of shutdowns and allowed mask mandates and really, really screwed the pooch on that one, in my opinion. And I think he is trying to get that back. I think he's trying to get back his conservative credibility. I think he's trying to win back Republicans in the state specifically. I think he's at odds with some people in his party over those responses, and now he's trying to smooth that out. And he's been making big plays and big public displays of those plays in response to it, in my opinion, again, to sort of retain some of what he's lost. But let's take a look at this article. I'm Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. I'm a lawyer. I'm also a legal and political commentator on YouTube and on Odyssey. Wherever you're watching, hit like, hit subscribe, follow, whatever. Go ahead and turn on your notifications and make sure you don't miss any videos. We do videos pretty much every day here. There's no like, whoa, I wonder when Nick's going to... No, I'm going to release a video or 2, maybe 3, pretty much every day. You don't have to wait weeks between each one. That's why you want to be here. All right, here you go. Texas Governor Abbott signed 7 gun bills into law, including constitutional carry at Alamo. Texans 21 and older, if you're legally allowed to own a firearm and possess one, you'll be able to carry pistols without a license beginning September 1st. You could already do this with rifles in Texas. Now pistols are included. Abbott was joined at 11 a.m. by Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, House Speaker Dade Phelan, and several other Republican lawmakers who authored the legislation he signed into law. Abbott was also joined at Alamo Plaza by Wayne LaPierre, an executive for the National Rifle Association. Let me just take a minute. I don't like Wayne LaPierre. I think the guy's a snake. I think he's a coward on Second Amendment issues. I think he's a coward on First Amendment issues as they pertain to the Second Amendment. I think he's ready to sacrifice everything and anything in defense of not gun rights, but NRA rights. That's what it seems like to me. He's happy to blame media and video games for gun violence. I don't like the guy. I do not think that the First Amendment is sacrificed on the altar of the Second Amendment. I think the First Amendment and the Second Amendment are self-reinforcing and that they work in symbiosis to ensure our rights. I think those 2 rights are the most critical things we have. The only tools that the public has to ensure that its rights are protected are the First and the Second Amendments. Everything else are tools that you can borrow from the government or whatever. But the First and the Second, those are ours. They're inside of us, and we don't need anybody else to exercise those rights. So when you try and sacrifice one at the altar of, and I wouldn't even say that the NRA is strong on Second Amendment rights. Like I'm going to say, I think they're strong on NRA rights. So I am not a fan. If you like Wayne LaPierre, more power to you. You know, that's great. You can buy him a Christmas card or whatever. I think that there are other organizations that I would rather see defending the Second Amendment who actually defend the Second Amendment. That being said, he was there. Abbott called the location, the Alamo of the ceremony, the cradle of liberty in the Lone Star State, and said the people who fought and lost their lives there knew the necessity of being able to carry a weapon for the purpose of defending yourself against attacks by others. And this is one thing that I love about Texas, man. It's that Texan identity. I grew up in Texas. If you don't know me, I grew up, the first half of my childhood was in Texas before I came up to Minnesota. And I'm identified as a prodigal Texan, right? Like I'm lost. But one day maybe I'll get to make a return. Who knows? But it's that instilled Texan attitude and identity. It's something that is a part of Texans. They are Texans. They're Texans along with whatever. They're Texan and an American. And that is something great. It's something you don't really see in other states, and other states don't understand. And people from other states kind of cast a sign, the side eye, doing this number. They're like, I don't know about that. Doesn't matter though, because you're Texan. You don't need to worry about that side eye. I mean, I remember the garbage can campaign. Don't mess with Texas. Like a buff garbage can walking around cleaning up litter. Texas is this unique thing. It's got an independent story. It's got an independent history. It's a part of American history, but it's got its separate identity history. And part of that history is the Alamo story. And this is under attack right now. The Texas story, the story of the Alamo, these things are being attacked by places like Time Magazine. They want to change it. They want to get rid of this Texan identity because it's intimidating. It's scary that people will think of not only an individualism, but a state identity that is bred on individualism. The state was founded by individualistic people forging their path, and that is something they want to flush out. It's something I love, and Texas needs to carry on with that. And this goes hand in hand with it, and signing it at the Alamo is certainly the place to do it. The governor first signed House Bill 1927, otherwise known as the Permitless Carry or Constitutional Carry, which gets rid of the licensing and training requirements for Texans who are 21 years or older to carry a pistol. Just imagine, if you will, that any other right, let's not even take the First Amendment because that's too easy. Let's go to the favorite right of people who hate constitutional carry, right? I'm just kidding. The favorite right of the left and left-leaning lawyers, abortion, right? The right to abortion. Not written down in the Constitution, but drawn out piece by piece through a tortured decision in Roe versus Wade. The right to abortion. Now, if you were to put a training requirement and licensure requirement on receiving an abortion for a woman, that she had to go through a mandatory training program that she had to pay for, plus a licensure requirement that she had to get permission from a local sheriff to get. If you did that to a woman before she could get an abortion, you would be in the Supreme Court in about a day, and your case you would lose that case. That would be an impermissible bar to a fundamental right to abortion. You can do it all day to gun rights. You could do it all day to the right that's literally written down in the Constitution that says it. Abortion, again, is manufactured out of some inferences from several different amendments. Gun rights are right in the freaking text. And you could put all kinds of licensure and training requirements on guns. That's a fundamental right with impermissible bars. If you can't afford those training requirements, you can't afford that licensure, then you don't get to exercise your right. Too bad. So sad. By the way, that's racially discriminatory. According to voting rights, right? Like if something costs something to do a vote, a $5 identification card, a $13, $16 identification card to vote that you might have to drive to go get, That is considered racially discriminatory. A license to carry and a training program that both costs money and significantly more than $16. That's not impermissible. That's not racially discriminatory. All of this is fine, according to these people, because they're so scared of guns that they are willing to be racist, classist, and they're willing to throw out essential liberty. Abbott referred to the new law as the biggest of and best of them all. Here are the other bills. We'll just take a look at them real quick. A bill that prohibits companies contracting with a government agency in Texas if they have an internal practice, policy, guidance, or directive that discriminates against a firearm entity or firearm trade association. This is why Wayne LaPierre is there. That's the NRA interest. That's the NRA interest there, that the NRA, they need to still be able to contract with the NRA and other companies that support the NRA, or that Texas won't contract with those companies that discriminate against the NRA. This one, again, this is that NRA rights thing I was talking about. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not the biggest fan of that. A bill that bars hotels from disallowing guests to store a firearm or ammunition in their rooms or carry a gun or ammunition directly from their vehicle to their room. This basically turns your hotel room into a domicile. Other states have stuff like this, or have practices like this kind of baked into their laws. This is a good one. Hotels can't ban guns on these premises. And if you're traveling out of state, of course, you don't want to leave your gun in your car. You want to bring it into your room. You want that. That is a safer thing to do, is to have the gun in your room than sitting in the trunk of your car if your car gets burglarized. A bill that broadens the types of holsters a person is legally allowed to use to tote a pistol. A bill that removes prohibitions on suppressors, which are regulated federally in Texas Penal Code. That's a good thing. The suppressors should not be regulated federally. That's a ridiculous regulation. They are not anywhere akin to a machine gun, and that's how they're regulated. A bill that would categorize firearms and ammunition businesses as essential during a disaster. Again, absolutely. When do you need firearms the most? During a disaster. The so-called Second Amendment Sanctuary State Act, which prohibits the enforcement for certain federal regulations on firearms, firearm accessories, or ammunition that are not in state law. And this will be interesting because they just remove suppressors from regulation in the Texas Penal Code. So now, ostensibly, that would allow suppressors in the state of Texas and be a sanctuary against that federal regulation. And that whole sanctuary city thing is sounding great right now, isn't it, liberals? When you wanted to just ignore federal law at an individual level, and then that became the norm. Well, now you're going to have to deal with that in other areas of law. So Governor Abbott will be joined. Okay, we've read all that stuff. It doesn't really matter. You've got the gist of what's going on here. This is good news for Texans who believe in individual liberty and who believe in the Second Amendment. That's my opinion. You've heard all about it. Tell me what you think down in the comments below. And until next time, thanks for watching. Peace. Peace.